James Miller, the undercover spy. James Miller was one of the most respected agents in a secret organization. At only 27 years old, he had already completed numerous dangerous missions that most agents would never dare to attempt. He was known for his bravery, intelligence, and determination. Tall, fair-skinned, and handsome, James had earned a reputation as one of the organization's finest operatives. One day, the organization assigned him an extremely dangerous mission. A powerful mafia boss named Viken Stiles had been secretly expanding his criminal empire through drug trafficking, money laundering, and illegal arms deals. The authorities had failed multiple times to gather enough evidence against him. James was ordered to infiltrate Viken's gang and uncover his operations from the inside. Although the mission was risky, James accepted it without hesitation. To blend in with the gang, he completely changed his appearance. He got a wild haircut, covered parts of his body with realistic tattoos, and adopted the rough attitude of a street criminal. He spent weeks building a false reputation. He frequented bars, pretended to drink heavily, smoked in public, and even staged fights with local gang members. Soon, word spread throughout the criminal underworld about the fearless newcomer. Eventually, his efforts paid off. Viken Stiles noticed him. After several tests of loyalty, Viken officially welcomed James into his organization. For months, James carefully gathered information while pretending to be one of Viken's trusted men. One evening, he attended a private meeting inside a luxurious warehouse. Hidden in a corner, James overheard Viken speaking with a wealthy drug dealer. "We move the shipment next week," Viken said. The dealer nodded. "No one will suspect us. The containers will be disguised as medical supplies." James secretly activated a tiny recording device hidden inside his jacket. The entire conversation was recorded. That night, he returned to his room and sent the information to the organization. A few minutes later, he received a coded message. "Continue monitoring the shipment. Follow it and discover its final destination. Report immediately." James replied. "Understood. I'll keep watching." The following day, several guards were given a break after hours of work. While pretending to relax, James sat nearby and listened carefully. A few guards were joking among themselves. "Our boss is obsessed with money," one guard laughed. "He'd probably sell his own shadow if someone paid enough," another joked. The group burst into laughter. James casually joined the conversation. "So where's this famous shipment headed anyway?" One guard shrugged. "Tokyo." The others nodded. James remained calm, but internally he was excited. This was valuable information. He excused himself and headed toward the washroom. Once inside, he locked the door and used a secure communication device. "The shipment is headed to Tokyo," he whispered. The organization acknowledged the message immediately. Relieved, James left the washroom. However, the moment he stepped outside, several guards suddenly grabbed him. Before he could react, they slammed him against the ground. "What are you doing?" James shouted. One guard laughed coldly. "We finally figured you out." Another guard pointed at him. The shipment destination wasn't a secret. Everyone in the organization already knew. The guard leaned closer. "The only reason you'd ask about it is because you didn't know." Realization struck James. He had made a mistake. "A spy," one guard said. The guards dragged him through the building and threw him into a dark underground cell. The heavy metal door slammed shut. For 3 days, James remained imprisoned. The guards beat him repeatedly, hoping he would reveal who he worked for. But James never spoke. As the shipment date approached, the organization became concerned. No messages had arrived from James. Something was wrong. To investigate, they sent one of their best field operatives. Her name was Lily Carter. Lily was intelligent, resourceful, and exceptionally skilled at tracking people. She arrived in the city and immediately began searching for clues. After several days of investigation, she discovered evidence suggesting James had been captured. Following a trail of information, she eventually found him. To her surprise, James had already escaped. However, he had been shot during his escape and was barely conscious in an abandoned building. Lily quickly treated his wounds and transported him to a safe location. Meanwhile, using the information James had gathered, the organization prepared an operation against Viken's shipment. On the day of the transfer, agents ambushed the convoy. The criminals were completely caught off guard. After a fierce battle, the organization seized the drugs and arrested numerous gang members. The evidence was then handed over to the police. Soon afterward, Viken Stiles and many of his associates were arrested. The operation was considered a major success. Several weeks later, James fully recovered from his injuries. Not long after returning to duty, he received another assignment. This mission involved a notorious criminal named Ryan Cross. Ryan was responsible for numerous murders across several states and had managed to avoid capture for years. The organization had recently discovered that Ryan was hiding in Miami, Florida, where he worked as a bartender under a false identity. James accepted the mission. This time, he disguised himself as an elderly man. Using makeup, prosthetics, and special clothing, he transformed into a convincing 70-year-old. When he arrived in Miami, he located the bar where Ryan worked. James entered and approached the counter. "May I have a drink?" he asked in an elderly voice. Ryan looked him up and down. Instead of serving him politely, Ryan smirked. "You're too old to be out this late." His co-workers laughed. Ryan continued mocking him. "You look like you escaped from a retirement home." James ignored the insults. He only cared about gathering information. A few minutes later, one of Ryan's friends entered the bar. "Ryan, come outside," he said. Ryan nodded and followed him. James secretly followed at a safe distance. The two men walked several blocks before arriving at a large hotel. Ryan's friend whispered something into his ear. Then the friend entered the building. Suddenly, Ryan turned around. For a brief moment, his eyes scanned the area. Then he started running. Fast. James immediately abandoned his disguise and chased after him. Ryan sprinted through crowded streets, jumped over barriers, and disappeared into a tunnel system beneath the city. James followed him inside. The tunnel was dark and silent. Water dripped from the ceiling. James searched every corner but couldn't find Ryan. Then, thud, something struck the back of his head. Pain exploded through his skull. His vision blurred. Before losing consciousness, he saw a shadow standing behind him. Ryan. When James woke up, he found himself tied to a chair inside an abandoned warehouse. Ryan and his friend stood nearby. "Looks like the old man wasn't so old after all," Ryan said with a grin. For several days, James remained captive. The organization again became worried after losing contact with him. Once more, Lily was assigned to investigate. Determined to find her partner, she traveled to Miami and began tracking every lead connected to Ryan. Eventually, she discovered the warehouse. With the support of local authorities, she launched a rescue operation. The warehouse was surrounded. Armed officers stormed the building. After a brief confrontation, Ryan and his friend were arrested. James was rescued safely. Back at headquarters, Ryan confessed to multiple crimes, and his criminal network was dismantled. The mission was officially declared a success. As James sat in his office weeks later, fully recovered once again, he couldn't help but smile. 2 dangerous missions, 2 successful outcomes, and countless lives saved. But he knew one thing for certain. Somewhere out there, another mission was already waiting for him.